Barry, you spent 10 seasons with the Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford played 12 seasons there before he and the Lions mutually agreed to move on. What do you think of what happened there in Detroit and Matthew moving on to the Rams?
Well, it's going to be a big adjustment, or an adjustment to some degree, and it'll be, really kind of the changing of the guard and a new chapter in Lions football. He meant a lot to the organization, and and so there is that part of it. But we also know that Jared Goff has played in some big time games and was in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and that he's still young and that he's still sort of approaching his prime. You would think, and so I'm interested just to see. How he handles the trade. We have some good weapons here. Hopefully, we'll get Kenny Galladay signed. But yeah, I overall kind of feel good about what we're receiving in return. The draft picks as well as Jared Goff. So I think we made out pretty well in it.
The Lions organization gets a lot of criticism, Barry, for not building around you, not winning around you, Calvin Johnson, Megatron, and then Matthew. Do you think that's fair, or do you think it's just that's life in the NFL? Sometimes draft picks don't pan out, trades don't work out, things happen.
Well, yeah, I think fans have a right to be critical, and you can so I think you can term it any number of ways. We want things to get better. I think I think this year, this offseason, kind of cleaning the plate, starting anew. You can't say we hadn't tried everything possible this go around to really try to get things started in a new direction. But I think that kind of criticism, when you go certain stretches of time without making the playoffs or winning, then I think you kind of open for criticism.
Was there ever a point during your career, during your time there, that you considered asking for a trade? I know it was different a little bit back then. Players didn't move around quite as often as they do now. But did you ever consider it? Did you ever approach management and say anything?
No, I never approached management with anything like that. Never really had a serious thought about playing somewhere else. I like playing here in Detroit, and had great years here. It would have been nice to win more, and be able to create that here. And I feel like, to some degree, we made progress with that during my time, but just didn't quite get there.
How involved were you, Barry, with this search for a new coach as a consultant? Did you have conversations? Did you help them put a list together? And what do you think of Dan Campbell?
My involvement pretty much consists of, I had a couple conversations with Chris Billman, and Rod Wood, just to kind of see what they were thinking. I knew that they were interviewing candidates, and things like that. And it doesn't surprise me that they landed on Coach Campbell. Knowing the kind of player Chris Billman was, I could see how he and Coach Campbell would get along well when you start talking about biting kneecaps and things like that. But that was pretty much the extent of my involvement, just kind of understanding, where they were in the process, and knowing that sort of thing. So, we're looking to turn the page and start a new chapter in Lions football.
A guy I know pretty well, Deuce Staley, is going to be the new running backs coach over there. How well do you know Deuce, and what do you think of that move?
Oh yeah, I've just seen him in passing, and that was certainly welcome news. I mean, he's another guy that's in a lot of ways like Coach Campbell. He played the game, at a high level. He's been around the game since retiring, and so he's very familiar with today's NFL and today's athlete, and that sort of thing. So I think he'll be, a welcomed addition and a real asset to our team.
Barry, a big topic of conversation lately has been Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, getting passed over again for a head coaching opportunity. He had 6 interviews out of the 7 jobs this year. Why do you think that keeps happening?
Oh well, I'm not the one to ask. I mean, obviously the guy knows what he's doing. I think sometimes you can be a victim of your own success. People see how successful they've been and all the weapons they have, and maybe they hold it against them or what have you. And so it's probably an example of a double standard because most others people who have that kind of success, it doesn't take them long to find a job. But I'm sure he'll find something at some point. Man, I don't know, but just looking at his situation, I don't know of many better situations than he's in currently. But but the fact that he's looking, you would think that someone would have picked him up, but so it's just kind of one of those things. But I've known Eric for many years, and it's amazing to see just his maturity as a coach and to see him enjoy the kind of success that he's had. And whoever decides to give him a shot, I think they're going to be very glad that they did. Because obviously he's shown that he's well deserving of it.
Did you ever have the opportunity or even think about getting into coaching? I know they often say when you're a Hall of Fame player, it's not as easy to have that success pass over, translate into guys you coach. And they always say those who can't teach. Was that something that you ever thought about?
No, not really. I'm at a good safe distance from the game currently. I kind of like it that way. I never really saw myself as a coach. So it was never really something that I strongly considered, honestly.
Anytime I ask a running back, whether they're past, present, if they saw you play, even if they didn't see you play, they saw highlights of you, your name always comes up when I say, who's your favorite running back of all time? Barry Sanders' name is always at the top of guys' list. How about you, as you look at today's game? Who are some of the guys that you really enjoy watching?
Well, I think at the top of that list, you look at what Derrick Henry's been able to do the last couple of years, and just had a phenomenal year this year, eclipsing 2,000 yards, and last year going into not Green Bay, going into New England, and beating the defending champions, with with a nice playoff win there, and so you look at Derek, you look at some of the young guys. I mean, being in Detroit, I see a lot of Dalvin Cook. He's another one of those guys you can give the ball to 20, 25 times a game, and he's going to get you 100+ yards and that kind of thing. You even look at some of these younger backs who's come along. The Jacobs kid for the Raiders, or the kid from Wisconsin. Who played for Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb. I think there's just, I even think Zeke Elliott was a little down this year, but I think he'll be back next year. I mean, you look at the kind of numbers Zeke has put up his first, 4 or 5 years in the league. He's been among the best. Adrian Peterson, he's at the tail end of his career, but I've enjoyed watching him throughout his career, and being another Hall of Fame caliber type player. So yeah, I think the league is in good hands as far as running backs are concerned. I mean, there's a lot more I could mention, like Alvin Kamara, who had another fantastic year, and others. So yeah, no, as a running back, as a former running back, there's a lot of guys that I like to look at.
Barry, I heard you once say that you grew up in a church, but it wasn't until college that your faith was tested, and it was at that point that you were saved. What happened?
I'm not sure exactly what that statement, but I think when you get out on your own, you get out on your own, you're away from your parents, you really find out what you believe and what you've been taught, and what things and what things are going to stick with you. So I just think going away to college, and facing real life challenges, and then obviously even more so going into the NFL. You realize those things that you believe, and 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 that sort of things, and sort of so good real life lessons.
I've had a lot of conversations with Rocket Mortgage over the past year for different things that I'm doing. I know you're working with them, Barry. What exactly is a Super Bowl square?
Oh, absolutely. Well, really, it's just a great chance, man, for fans to win a lot of cash during Super Bowl. And so it's just a bigger and better version of your normal game of squares, where pretty much every time the score changes, fans will have a chance to win $50,000. And then two other fans have a chance to win $500,000. And so if you want to find out more about it, go to rocketmortgagesquares.com, get signed up. It's free to play. We know we got fantastic offenses in this game, and the scoreboard could potentially light up, and so maybe fans can win a lot of cash playing squares.
Last one for you. You got a pick for this game?
I'm kind of leaning toward the Chiefs. I mean, I think I almost see it as a revenge game. From the Chiefs, losing to Brady and Gillette Field 2 years ago, in sort of under questionable circumstances. And I know Brady's with a different team, but I kind of see them as maybe seeking revenge for that game. It's interesting because I've compared it to Brady and Mahomes, to two great boxers, who were in the same division, who they're gonna have to meet up at some point because they're the class of the division, and they're the class of the quarterbacks, and so I'm not shocked to see these two guys playing for all the chips, the same way that the Manial, the Pacquiao Mayweather fight had to happen at some point. These two guys, had to meet up in the big game at some point because they're just that good, and they just carry their teams in that way. And so I think it's just a beautiful matchup. I think obviously you got great weapons, on both sides of the ball, but certainly with the Chiefs. But you can't discount the Bucks, who went in and knocked off the Packers with Aaron Rodgers and a high-powered offense. So I'm looking for a lot of fireworks on the field, but I think the Chiefs probably are crowned with that second consecutive title.
Barry, this was an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for joining me, and wish you a ton of blessings.
Great to be here, man. Thanks for having me.